I suppose in the 18-year history of our show, we've never had any star who's won such affectionate acceptance.
Put a chick in it, make her gay.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
They were big. They were hitting hard too, man.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Broaden the areas of participation for women.
That sounds very stylish.
What is my problem?
What do you think? Beat sitting home watching television? Phenomena.
And hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for joining the show today. It's been kind of a crazy weekend with the whole Biden business and all that. In my neck of the woods, we've had rain, which has been kind of depressing. But it's Monday. It's a new day, start of a new week. So let's try to put some of that positivity out there. I'm really excited because we have a hot new creator here going to join me today and talk about his project. Let's see. Bring him on here. Let's bring him on with, let's just do this.
Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go, 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 go.
That's an awesome intro.
Yeah, it's a little old school, but you know, I'm old school, so what can I say?
Well, I mean, look at my comic collection. This is all. I actually never. That was from the second Ninja Turtles.
It was the second one, which
Never
I
saw
mean, it wasn't as good. They kind of changed up the costumes and everything. It's still far superior to that wretched third one. Oh my god! But you know, still. The rubber suits, I love it. It's fun. I wish they'd kind of go back to that in a way.
I do
like,
too.
you know, maybe do the suits, but touch it up a little bit with
Yeah.
CG. I think that would be a great kind of, marrying of the two technologies.
Yeah,
But
because I think for the most part, the old one looks good. Like you can criticize a few things, but I loved the look of the first one.
yeah, and the tone of it was really good too. You know, for being a kids movie, the creators really kind of, they didn't coddle the kids. It was
No.
let's treat the kids like they kind of understand a bit more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
And I try to remember that as I get older, and it seems like kids are getting younger. And I know, like you kind of have to put up with that a little bit. People going, "Oh, young Vaughn Coleman."
Well, I thought you were talking about coddling, ruining entertainment.
Oh well, no, just
The young Vaughn, I could take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, oh, there are these old boomers here calling me young again. But
Yeah.
it's something that happens. I can't even describe to you when it happens, but there's something that happens. You hit this point, and you're just like, the music starts sounding weird to you. You're not really digging it. The entertainment starts seeming weird. You're like, what's going on here? And then the next thing you know, you're yelling to people to get off your lawn. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, holy crap, turn into an old person. But anywho, let's say hello. We got a couple people who have kind of joined us early in the evening here. We have Taylor Swift, Greater Than Disney, Star Wars, and I think it was Doctor Who. And I'm trying to remember the other one. But you have a really long name that I like, but my software here doesn't want to. Yeah, it doesn't want to show all of it. So.
Disney, Star Wars, and MCU, Doctor Who. Okay.
Yes, I knew it had Doctor Who in there. That Doctor Who just still wounds me to the core. And then we have, let's see, Menthol Meow. Hail chat. If there's a way to butcher something, pronunciation, I will find a way.
Good trait.
Yeah. So thank you for joining me today.
Of course,
I really
thanks for having me.
appreciate it. Really excited. We'll dive into your project here in just a moment. But first, a little housekeeping here. This stream is going to be brought to you by some Jose Cuervo.
Okay.
I do have it in a Propel bottle because I freeze this bad boy. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try something a little bit different from my normal, interviews streaming. I'm going to pour a little shot. So I can get that without spilling it.
Should I be grabbing something?
Only if you want to. I mean, hey, we can make this a group, like a little party here. And so I'm going to, this is just to kind of get the gears greased up here, so to speak. And, for every let's see, how should we do this? For every 2 backers initially, maybe we could do a
All
shot.
right, sounds good.
No,
You
hey.
get whatever you do.
Okay,
I don't know,
and maybe
'cause
we'll
different shows
reassess.
get different backers. It's crazy. I don't know because obviously
Yeah.
it's the show. I don't know.
I don't
different
know
shows.
either, but we'll see what happens. But salute,
So
cheers,
I
let's
would
go.
have grabbed. All right, I'll grab one later.
Woo. Oh,
That's
Lord.
tequila. I'm more of a, I guess, blame Graham Nolan. I'm more of a bourbon guy. Those guys got me into bourbon. Billy Tucci and Graham.
Bourbon is great,
Yeah.
but I for shooting, I like tequila,
Yeah.
which may or may have its good or bad side. I don't know. But yes, Vaughn Coleman. So for those who might not be aware, we did actually, you and I had a chance to meet last year, actually.
Last year too. Yeah, last year and then this year. Garden
Yeah,
State, Tampa.
I didn't have a chance to really chat with you last year.
Yeah.
Even though the convention seemed a little bit rushed for me because I was filming and whatnot, and then
Yeah.
you were, at a booth.
Yeah, I was working. Well, I was supposed to be working this year. I might have done a bad job.
Yeah, no.
Too much socializing this year.
It's exposure,
Yeah, it is.
any exposure, good or bad, I guess, is something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it was great to have a chance to talk to you and all that. And it really impresses me, not to harp on the age thing, but it always impresses me when our younger generation just kind of has that spirit of, I have this dream and I'm going to tackle it. So I always really respect that, in the age where people kind of like to look down on the younger generations for
Rightfully so. I'd say my generation is.
That's funny. I used to say the same thing about my generation. I don't know. Maybe there's still hope around the corner. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really impressed with your work ethic and your drive. You seem really motivated. You seem like a really artistic person, which
Thank you.
I really respect. And so, like, for those who might not be aware of Vaughn Coleman, tell me a little bit about your background and, where your interests lie. And then I guess kind of maybe we'll segue into what brought you into comics.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been wanting to tell stories, ever since I was a little kid. I very ADHD, very much in my own head. I was always getting, I always on the playground coming up with some story, and I guess it just kind of naturally transitioned to wanting to bring that up to the next level. And so I wanted to like act and also make my own movies. And so I remember, because I was a big movie fan, I remember being at the school library and there was this book on movies. And it was the first time I had really, I guess, gotten the understanding of a creator, because I was like, oh my God, this guy, Steven Spielberg, did all my favorite movies. Oh, that's so funny. I swear, total coincidence.
Legend.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, Jurassic Park, Jaws, Indiana, this is the same guy. And it really just, it kind of opened my eyes and I was like, how did he do it?
Yeah.
And, so I'd look into directors, I'd look into, I paid more attention to the movies I liked, and then I decided I wanted to do film as a career. I was always I took some acting classes, but I primarily focused on filmmaking, writing, directing, and that led me to film school. So like I did.
Yeah, I'm envious. I wanted to go, but it didn't quite work out for me. Life kind of took me in a different direction. But yeah, that's cool. So you got to go to film school.
Yeah, and I did that. I did actually. It was a summer filmmaking program at the USC. Like film school, and then I had my film had won audience choice for my class had decided to use my film, and one of my friends, Hunter, was there. And what was funny about that was years pass on, so I was at my buddy Hunter's house because we still keep in touch, and I start seeing all this comic book art around his dad's house. I'm like, oh my God, I'm big into comic books, which because he knew that I don't shut up about it. And then years later, after I'm at his house, like after he goes, I go, I've thought about like making comics, whatever. He goes, oh yeah, my dad's making some. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And I go, can you like,
anything you can share with us, or is that something you kind of have to keep?
I'll have to, because this is led to my first published work. So I was like, is there anything I could, any way you could throw my name in, like really trying to kind of get him. And he goes, let's see what I could do. So his dad had seen some of my short films. I'd met his dad. And so he goes, yeah, I'm working on this graphic novel I want you to look at. And I swear, I'm just talking on the phone with him. I go, yeah, I hear a lot of great writers, a lot of my favorite writers are doing indie stuff. Like Chuck Dixon, for example, is doing indie
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Of all writers, I mentioned Chuck Dixon. He goes, "Okay, yeah, you're going to be working on Chuck's book." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" Like that of all the people.
This was your first time.
So my first book was
hold
Hunter
on.
Ninja Bear.
Hold up.
I was an editor on this book.
Hold up. I know I got it over here somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's a good. It's first of all, I was spoiled right out the gate.
Oh Lord, I have it on my shelf, and it's just
Yeah.
Of course, when I want to find it, I can't.
Oh, that happens all the time. Yeah, I was interviewing Graham Nolan, and I was like, I have something with Bane. I was like, no, where is it?
Yeah, damn it.
I'm sure Graham was like, yeah, I've seen everyone else who's interviewed Graham. I'm sure is like, yeah.
I'm just gonna blame it on the tequila. I'm sure I'm staring right at it. And
well, so if you look at the book whenever you next find it, so my buddy Hunter Fenolio, so Tom and Joe Fenolio founded the company. Then Hunter, his son, and I were the editors on that book. And I didn't.
And
even
this is like your first project?
Yes, it was.
Boy, you're
crazy.
like kissed by Lady Luck.
I was impressed. And I've still never gotten to talk to Chuck personally, because the way it would work was they would send me most of the pages of the book were done. And they just said, hey, I didn't even know what my job was. I found out later this is what an editor is, because I was like, oh, I give notes. And they go, oh, so you're an editor. I'm like, I mean, I guess. I don't really know what that is. Yeah, so I got lucky. Like, I met a friend at a thing, and it led to this. And, but the thing is, everyone can get a chance like that. You have to keep working it, right? And
yeah, I think it is all about networking. And
oh my God,
you never know how somebody you might meet today could somehow, be a part of your life tomorrow down the road. So, yeah, I mean, I would just say always try to keep people, treat them with kindness, and you never know how the universe might have them come back and circle back and be a part of your life someday. So that's really cool. Like your first gig, that's got to be kind of like,
yeah. So it was really cool. And then it was funny because flash forward. So immediately when I get this job, because I'm like, okay, first thing I'm doing, I'm writing my script, and I found out, okay, this is like 12 chapters. This is how they're doing it. So I'm like, I'm going to write like the first 12 issues of my comic. And if it doesn't get made, that's fine, because I still have 10 scripts written. So there's no loss to me, because I wanted to write it anyway.
Right.
And now I'm in the process of rewriting it. So initially, my first 3 issues I smashed together for this one.
So let's kind of back up a little bit. And so the whole like script writing and writing in general, I mean, that's sort of what you picked up, I'm guessing, like maybe in high school. And then as you went to film school and everything, that was part of, I guess, the courses and stuff that they taught you there.
Writing. Yeah. So the first year of film school, they give you like general history. Oh, the dude, what's up, man?
The dude. It really tied the room together, that rug,
Yeah. I love that movie. That's one of the few movies that I think gets funnier the more I watch it. I thought it was good the first time, but then the second time I was like, this is great. And it gets funnier. First time I liked it, but I didn't love it. And
I think it takes a while to kind of soak in. I think you need to view it initially and then absorb the shock of it, because it's just kind of like an experience at first.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And then on the subsequent viewings, and then you start getting your favorite parts where you quote it. It's a great movie. I'm about due for another watch.
I'm always due for another one. Whenever it's on TV, I stop. What's going on? How you doing, Juju?
I gotta hit you up, Juju. We need to start streaming together. Yeah, it'd be great.
She needs to get on my show too at some point. I've been it's weird struggling between streaming, because you have to be your whole promotion branch. When you do this, which it's a lot of work, but it's also, again, it's networking, so it kind of does force you to learn every aspect of the business, which is good. But I went to films. When I was at film school, I decided I wanted to focus on writing and directing, and that stayed consistent. I was like, all right, my senior year, all like humor cinematography class, I don't have the eye for it. It's the same thing with artwork. I can't draw.
I really respect cinematography. That's what I wanted. I wanted to go to school for. It can really set the mood for a film. Sometimes there can be a real just crappy movie, but it still had really nice cinematography. Yeah. And I can at least appreciate that aspect of it. But and I wanted to do the editing. I took TV
Ooh.
production back in high school. We didn't have film or anything back then. It was still analog. It wasn't, the digital software. We had the editing bays where you actually had to go through and use the equipment. But it was a lot of fun. I actually got an award for that back in the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but I didn't have a chance to fulfill my dream. I went to Full Sail and thought about dropping a couple, mortgage size, loans there. And I was just like, I don't know if I could justify. I mean, I love it, but I knew that the people that went to these type of schools, like they breathed it. They, they slept there and on campus. So it was, it required a lot of, commitment. And I searched my heart and I was like, all right, let's kind of go the more stable route. So that's how it worked out. But, to hear a success story like yours, like, even though you're not really doing, you're not doing the film thing per se, although that could change maybe in the future, just to see. I think I saw something like a clip of you skateboarding or something like that.
Oh God, that short film. I was in. So I basically with my friend group. So all right, COVID happens when I'm at school. They decide, right when I'm turned 21, I'm in Boston. That's where I went, Emerson College, the favorite city in America. They decide that all those pubs you've been walking by for years saying, I'm going to go there when I'm 21. Yeah, you can't go to any of them. You get to stay in your room. How's that? And I'm like, great, that's awesome. So the whole time, because of that, we barely networked for the last couple of years of college, which was, not great. I did the best.
That's a tragedy. Like COVID is just really, it's impacted so many lives, like not just, the physically, but with career wise, education wise, my God.
Yeah. It forced me to network through like
social media and whatnot.
I mean, I had to do something, I ended up kind of writing a bit, and I think it was during COVID when I was working on this, I'm pretty sure. But my friends, we were in a suite together, decided that because there were no other actors in their peripheral, I was going to act in every single film. So I did. So I was the only one that liked acting because I like acting. So I acted, but then it got to a point they're like, all right, Vaughn, I need you for this weekend. I'm like, I just helped last week. So every weekend I was starring in a new one of my friends' films. So by the time like I took some of their classes, they're like, oh, I know you were in this film. I'm like, yep. But that was what I did. So a lot of them, some of my films are on YouTube. They're pretty wild, some of them. And then the USC one I couldn't put on YouTube because USC, they make you
sign like some sort of, you sign over the rights or something.
It was that, and then it was also if you're in the dorms, they make you sign forms because they wanted to train you for the Hollywood life, which is everything needs a permit. If you stand in a street for 5 seconds, that needs a whole permit. You need to go through the State Department. And they wanted to prep you for that. So you'd have to go to 5 different departments to shoot in your dorm. All right. So I'll say this. One time, like we were shooting my dorm and they're like, all right, we need a permit. So I just went back to my room, just erased the date and changed it. And I was like, here you go. It's
my
crazy.
God. I did that with some of the, to travel, you had to get the COVID test and everything. I'm like, this is stupid. So like some of them, I would just like change the date. Don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Now, line of the government might be a little different.
To the school, that's one thing. Federal government's a whole other thing.
And I wrote a short, like I decided I wanted to focus primarily on writing, and that's when I started really getting into comics. I think it was around the same. Funny enough, it was at film school is when I decided I want to shift to comics, and because there were a few factors. And I still love film. I still want to. And I almost have like 2 tracks where I think of this is a film idea. This is a comic idea now. Where it used to always be film. And then I even wrote a short story that I, should do something with. Oh, Jolly Green, what's up? And I was, I started, it was for some reason. So actually I just saw him the other day. So my mom's friend from high school, just another connection, who was the head of the comic book club. They always told him, oh, never do anything with it. He ended up producing the first 2 X-Men movies. So he's like a family. And he had told me, I was like, what X-Men comics do I read? I want to get into it. He goes, start with Giant Size X-Men #1 and then read Chris Claremont's run. So I started that in college, and immediately I was enamored because I had to water all my big budget ideas down all the time. And meanwhile, these guys, they could just, oh, you want there to be like a mutant island to fight? Okay. There, you just tell someone to draw it. I'm like,
you're just limited by the artist's imagination and stuff.
Because I had read some comics, you know, like I had read a lot of Batman, especially, but I had never really, I had like read them, but I had never really, I thought of adapting them, but I never really taken the medium as seriously, as sophisticated as I should have. And I kind of grew this newfound love for the medium that I never had before. Like I loved comics, you know, I had them. I started reading them when I was in 6th grade, but it wasn't until like, I was really like, man, there's stuff in here. I think it was really when I was translating a script, when I had considered doing a comic from a screenplay to a comic book, that my love for the medium grew, because I realized there's stuff you can't do in a comic you can do in a movie, but there's some stuff you can do in a comic you can't do. And so how different is it? This is the weird thing. So one of the biggest differences I noticed right off the bat, especially when I was reading Chuck Dixon's, you know, because it was mostly done, and then the last issue I got to read as a script. Which is really cool. And so I used that. I adopted. I was like, how do you draw a pan? Okay, that's how you write it. That's how Chuck writes it. Okay. And I kind of just adopted from that. But the weird thing, so screenplays are extremely strict and very corporate. There's to the point where they literally, I've had a professor tell me, if you send your script to a studio executive, your screenplay, and there is more black space on the page than white, they will just not even read your script. They don't like it when you have too many words. They don't like it when you're too wordy. They don't like you to put camera angles. They don't like you to do that. They say the screenwriters are taught that is its own profession. You don't get to direct. Very few screenwriters get to direct. Very few of them.
You know that, and that's kind of funny because you kind of have your vision as you're, you know, making the story of, you know, how it's going to look in your mind. And, you know, so you're crafting it as you go along with certain visuals in your mind, and then that doesn't even really necessarily translate over to the final product. That's crazy.
They actually don't like it when screenwriters are on set. They try and limit their vision because they know it's very much, and I guess this was another reason, is I'm trying to be less of a control freak, but I do like
it's hard.
Yeah, I have. There are times where I like with my issue 2 cover, I had like, because I'm already starting work on issue 2, I had a list of cover ideas, and I said, no, you know what? What do you want to draw to my artist? And then he came up with something that was better. I had a list of like 10 ideas, and I'm like, I'm gonna let them do their job. And sometimes, you know, turns out artists are better artists than writers. Who knew? You know. But
it's so hard. I mean, that's like your baby. And,
yeah,
you know,
it is.
You kind of birthed this idea, and then to kind of have to turn it over and see somebody else mold it from that. It's got to be hard.
It is.
And, you know, you go back to talking about how there's so much, you know, corporate influence on movies these days. And I think it is really starting to come across to the audience as well, because
oh my God,
I can't tell you how many movies I've seen lately where you can sense that it was just, you know, constructed by a committee, you know, where it had to go through a number of approval processes. And, you know, it just is something about the art that used to exist, you know, where it used to be more of an art form is starting to be lost, unfortunately.
Well, because like Star Wars was some crazy guy's idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody wanted to touch it. He had to kind of do it himself.
It's like an IP. It is the brand, and you have to, and there's some level of, well, ideally, in an ideal, there would be some level of, oh, we're treating it respectfully now. But the problem is you lose kind of that fluidity, you know, you lose. And that's why I think comics, they just like, as long as they sold and were respectful of the characters. But then I think with film, it could pass between so many hands. That how many times do you hear stories of, oh, there was conflicts between this star, was a big movie star, and he wanted to change the script.
Right.
You know, like Seven, one of my favorite movies, right? They were going to change the ending of that movie. And Brad Pitt had to threaten to leave the set if they didn't keep the original ending. It was going to be like, oh, it's a last minute car chase to save, you know, that was what the studio wanted.
See, and I can't imagine
it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a classic like it is today if they
Mm.
hadn't gone with what Brad Pitt had lobbied for.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the last movie that of recent movies that you've seen in the theater that you actually felt like was a decent movie?
Oh my God, that's a good. I haven't been going enough. I just saw you reviewed Longlegs. How is that?
It's okay. So let me kind of set this up first. Let me preface it. My sister-in-law reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you like horror movies? I just saw this news report about this movie. Would you be interested?" I said, "Sure." And then I started seeing the reviews, and I got a little bit nervous because people started complaining that it's slow. And
Mm.
so I will state that the pacing is really slow in the movie. But I think what really got me in the film, and there's so many like different quirky elements to the film, but what really hooked me was just the atmosphere that they created in this movie. Everything is just so eerie and freaky. Like you hear eerie scores in other movies,
Mhm.
but it wasn't just the score. As I mentioned in my review, the director chose to like amplify ordinary sounds. So
Oh.
you'd have the girl here drinking, and you would hear her swallowing and stuff like
Oh.
that. So it you're not really aware of it while you're watching it, but it builds the tension. Like you feel on edge while you're watching it, and the story is intriguing. I felt like really, even though the pacing is slow, it did captivate my attention the whole time. Freaking Nicolas Cage, holy crap, that is like the freakiest I've ever seen him in my life. And then the ending, I will say, I don't think they fully got the ending,
Damn.
but
I've been thinking that's a trend lately.
it is a trend. But I would say just the overall experience, just to kind of have that on edge feeling. And the movie's not too long. I think it's an appropriate length. I think if they tried to drag it out any longer, it would
Overstay its
just be
welcome.
excruciating. But yeah, it's definitely an experience I would recommend to watch. But I would say I think you're either going to like it, like appreciate the feeling, the atmosphere, the experience of it, or you're probably going to hate it. I don't think there's going to be too much, in between.
Oh, I just looked it
Um,
up because the way you described it, and they make it sound like it's like a 3-hour movie. It's not. This is like a standard runtime.
yeah, I think it was like an hour and 47
Okay,
minutes,
that's
something
not
like
bad at
that.
all. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
even still, I got to get better watching. My attention span. I could blame the internet, but it is my fault for indulging in the internet.
yeah, no, it's affecting me too. Like
It's
the,
bad. And
the
the thing is,
short
I need to promote,
shorts.
like when I'm tweeting, what people don't understand is like me tweeting stuff. Usually that is work, right? Like that is,
Yeah,
I know but then what happens? They'll tweet something and I'm like, ha ha, that's funny. And I'm like, stop. You came on
yeah,
this app
yeah.
for one purpose. Close the app. Or like I'll
I
be
get
checking
into
my
that YouTube rabbit hole, and then
oh,
especially since
YouTube
they've
too.
added shorts,
Oh
it's
my
just,
God.
and then I I stay up late, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do? Like I've wasted like the
The
last
whole
90
day.
minutes.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's just the nighttime, but
Yeah.
it's like I could have been more productive. I could have been editing another
Yeah.
review, but yeah, I think you would appreciate the experience of Long Lake, so I would
Yeah.
definitely recommend that you
I'm a
see it.
big horror movie guy, which is funny because the first feature length script I read from, or God, brain wrote from start to finish was a slasher movie, and it's due for a rewrite. But I think one of the movies that really influenced me, getting back when I was in high school, so I wasn't allowed to watch rated R movies. My mom specifically was like, "You can't," and I like had to beg my mom. What it was. What finally broke it was I had run out of comic book movies to watch, basically,
Yeah.
almost. And I was like, I want to watch Watchmen, Mom. Let me watch Watchmen.
Oh,
And she
that's
was
kind of
like,
how old were you when that came out?
well, I was too young when it came out, but in
Yeah.
2009. But I was in my edgy middle school phase where I wanted to be like Rorschach, and then I'm
Oh, the
like, maybe
Dr.
that's
Manhattan's
yeah.
just
Oh,
swinging in
life
the
is
wind.
meaningless, whatever. My edgelord phase. So I
Oh,
really
we all
liked
go through
Watchmen
that.
when I was a little kid. I went to New York Comic Con as Rorschach. And so I was like, Mom, I want to watch this movie. And she was like, I had to beg. And then once the floodgates were open, I can now watch more. So then I started watching Seven, and my
Yeah.
understanding of storytelling started to improve. And Yeah, 7 is like one of my favorites. I think 7, The Shawshank Redemption is my favorite movie. It's
Oh
my dad's
God, I've
too.
seen that so many times because
Yeah.
they used to show it like on was it TBS or TNT like every weekend. It was crazy. But I mean, for a good reason because they pretty much know that if they have it on, they're going to get viewers. People are going to stumble on it and be like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay, let's watch
You can't
this."
put it down. Same thing with Jaws. Jaws is
Yeah, the first Jaws is great. I still can appreciate the other ones, but they are definitely a product of their time. The first one's just a classic in terms of, just the tension and just you get so much angst watching it.
It's so good. It's such a great movie. I think videos. Oh my God, I remember Blockbuster. That was so tragic, and that was my
It makes
childhood.
me sad.
That was like I think the last generation of Blockbuster. Like I really grew up with it. It'd be like the highlight of my week going to Blockbuster.
Oh, it was every Friday. When I grew up, our routine was always the same. Every Friday, we'd go get a pizza. We'd get it from Little Caesars back in the day, and that's when you would get 2 pizzas, and it came on this long cardboard thing with like paper over it. So it was just such a weird way of picking up a pizza. But we'd go place our order, and then we'd go over to Blockbuster, and we'd spend about 30 minutes or so just kind of perusing the store. And I always trying to con my dad out of renting a Nintendo game or something. But yeah, it was fun. I miss those times. Everything is so instant today.
And the problem is that you get choice paralysis, right?
You do, yes.
There are times, even with campaigns, where I'm like, there's so many campaigns. You know what? I'm not backing any of them.
Yeah. Like, God dang it, there's too many choices. Let's see.
How many times are you looking at Netflix and you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll watch and then you don't watch anything. You scroll your phone.
Yeah, that happens with my husband and I all the time. We're like, hey, let's watch a movie. And then I start to get that dreaded feeling because I'm just like, we're going to go through, we're going to get stuck for like 45 minutes trying to find something. And then I'm just going to get pissed off and be like, fine. And then we put on something that neither one of us really wants to watch. But
and it's Jules. It's weird. I said because Jules.
So
I've been calling her Jules, and then one time I called her Juju. She's like, "Why did you call me that?" I'm like, "What do you mean? That's what you're in charge." It's like, "Yeah, but it's weird when you." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah,
anyway,
I know. I'm so used to saying Juju now.
Yeah, because I'm used to saying Jules, so it's like I have to adjust for the audience.
Yeah,
But she said I feel the same way. There are points where there were a few days where I'm like, no, I have to write new scripts. Because there's always something that can be distracting you. Sometimes turn your phone off. One thing I learned, a lot of professional writers literally will go into a cabin and be gone for weeks because they need to be in their element.
I could totally see it. Yeah.
And the problem is I'm also my marketing. Now, marketing, you have to constantly be in people's ear. So it's finding that balance. But yeah, instant gratification is a problem. And I think we're going to see it in the arts. I think the very few people that learn to fix their attention span, I need to learn that, I think are going to succeed. I think all the people that give into instant gratification will get the short-term rewards.
Yeah.
But they won't get the long-term rewards. And I think when I was given to how that translates to comics is I was like, okay, a lot of these came out before I was even born, right? Like Chris Claremont wrote X-Men for 16, 17 years. It didn't become the #1 comic until literally like the tail end of that, and now, even though I hate the fact that he got booted off the book, and if you ever talk to him, he's pissed at whatever they do with the current X-Men.
Man.
Which I don't blame him.
It's all over the place what they're doing to X-Men. Every time I see an article on it, I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. I was in college because I had been reading the trades and I was reading this and then people were telling me, Vaughn, House and Powers of X, you got to read it. It's insane. And I read it and I'll be honest, I loved it because I was like, this is so cool. I can't wait for the reveal that the X-Men are mind controlled because this is nuts. The X-Men wouldn't do the idea. I had been hearing about weirdo comics like your boy Zach's videos and whatever. Yeah. But I was like, there's something between seeing videos and actually paying for the product earnestly, reading it and being slapped in the face. There's something because I could, you can make videos about anything, but it's like actually reading what is considered one of the best things on the market and going, really? Because there were characters that I was like Kitty Pryde, for example, is like 13 when she's introduced, right? Why is she acting more mature as a 13-year-old little girl than she is when she's supposed to be in her late 20s?
Yeah.
Like what is and they're treating it like
the era that she was written,
Yeah.
I mean, when I was younger, the teenagers at the time, God, they were practically acting like and looked like 30-year-olds. It was nuts. But yeah, just I guess we've had it too easy for too long, and we're just regressing as a society, emotionally and all that kind of stuff. But 13, she's designed like an adult. Well, they do that with comics, right?
She's supposed to be written. Like, I like the way that character was written. Yeah, I mean, 80s comics, I think, were the best decade in terms of comics. 1986, I mean, alone, that was Watchmen, Mutant Massacre, Daredevil Born Again, Dark Knight Returns, Elektra Assassin, Crisis on Infinite Earths, like that, Punisher Circle of Blood, like Murderer's Row, of just the best stuff that year.
Like lightning struck that year.
Yeah, it's like 1994 with the Academy, where I mean they had Pulp Fiction, Shawshank, and Forrest Gump all for Best Picture. You know, it's just sometimes that happens, and I feel like we're gonna get to that point again, but it's gonna be through the indies, because the truth is, and I think that studio Hollywood stuff is seeping into comics. So like, for example, people are like, "Oh, this run's gonna be really good." I'm like, the editor is gonna throw that writer off the book. Even look at Bo DeMaio, right? I think he did an amazing job on X-Men 97. Threw him off the show, and they're like, we're throwing that. Not only did they throw him off the show, they're changing his stuff.
Yeah, I heard that. He had the first 2 seasons planned out, and now they brought in a new guy, and I think he made some tweaks to the second season, and that's a shame.
And the thing is, like, because I had the pleasure of talking to him, and he's so cool. So cool. My buddy Zach, we were on Diabolical Souls Studios, and we got to interview Bo. And,
that is awesome.
And it was so cool because he just came on casually, just as a fan, and he was just like, he goes, "Listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you." Bo said this, like, he completely said this. You could watch the interview. He goes, "I would have been right there with you guys thinking that X-Men 97 was going to suck if I was a fan. I totally hear you." Turns out, so Bo DeMaio, there was a thing. I've never even watched The Witcher, but he was the writer in the room that leaked that, they don't like the source material. He was the one that leaked that, and that's why he got in so much trouble. Because he is a huge comic book fan. And he goes like, "Yeah, I get it." I think he even said, "I get it. I'm like a gay black guy. I get the optics of them thinking I'm a diversity hire." He's not. He's a huge comic book fan.
And the way they spun his firing too, they made it seem like he did something inappropriate without like really, saying it in as many words. But yeah, they're just like, "Yeah, we've decided to part with him."
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Here's the thing. I don't care. Like, because people, I don't know what the exact reason is, but all I know is I have to watch episode 7 next. So I've been watching it episode by episode. We're going through it. But I mean, I'm just blown away. Like, there's stuff where I'll be like taking the comics on my shelf. I'm like, he pulled that exact line. And it's not just the fact they pulled the line. It's with the intent of understanding the source material. And he talks in a way where he's like, we're shepherds of these characters. These aren't,
Right. Yeah.
I think, and that's key. I don't even know if I was hired to write X-Men. I did actually the other day when I was supposed to be writing my own ideas. Sometimes it happens. I was like, what would I do with an X-Men team? I did come up with my own team. I have to come up with another X word, and I actually did come up with one. But, like I would think of what I'd want to do, but I'd have to retcon so much.
Of the newer stuff or like old stuff?
Yeah, like 10 years of history, because they decided the X-Men, and I guess this gets to what my comic is about. I know I've been all over the place, but my comic, because I was sick of, I think House and Powers of X really sold me on there's just no idealism anymore. Everything is so cynical. Everything is written by cynical people that, and it's like superheroes were meant to, like, look at what the X-Men were, they never denied that it was probably an impossible dream, right? Xavier's dream, that they would all live together in harmony. Same thing with Batman. Do we actually think there's going to be no crime in Gotham? No, but it doesn't matter because the ideal is worth fighting for. And what happened is we get these new writers that are so beaten down on life, and they're deciding to project this onto the characters. And these were kids. These superheroes were a big influence on me as a kid. They gave me hope. And then to have like hopeless writers come in.
Yeah.
It's all meaningless anyway. It's just
life is hard anyway without like this whole everything being kind of cloaked in nihilism. It's just that was a nice escape. You could go into these worlds, either through movies or comic books and just kind of escape for a little bit And imagine what it would be like to just have these superpowered beings go out there and try to make the world a better place. And I mean, why do you want to make everything just, covered in just misery and I don't get it.
I don't either. And, it was one of the things. I remember one of the drafts I'd wrote. This is another reason I kind of went to comics was it was while I was at film school and I started seeing Gina Carano pushing back. And I remember I was like, yes, she's pushing back. And it was great. And then I just had a gut wrenching feeling of when they fired her, because I was at film school at the time. And I was like, man, like, this is what they're going to do to me. This is what they're going to do to everyone.
Well, you already have 2 strikes against you that you're, a white male. So
and heterosexual.
Yeah. So 3 strikes against you there. So, I mean, it's when you get into the whole identity politics stuff, the art is like the last thing that comes into play. And it's really unfortunate. The art definitely suffers for it. Our entertainment suffers for it. So let's kind of like segue a little bit and tell me, let's start talking about PHENOMENOVA.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did, actually. Most people do. Because this thing, people would say, Vaughn, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it sarcastically, is it PHENOMENOVA? I'm like, oh, I notice how everyone who says that always gets it right. It's almost,
well, it's like one of the few times I didn't mispronounce it. So
no, it's all good. Yeah, PHENOMENOVA. Yes, that was. So I guess we could pull that up. So that was like my most recent name for the book. So I had gone through. Do you want me to share it or should you share?
Here, I got it here. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I had gone through, it was, so actually funny enough, when I was at Phenom, so originally it was when I was in 2nd grade, I came with the idea this is before I read comics. It was a series of movies that I was going to star in, which is why the character looked like me, because that was what it was supposed to be. And that just kind of stuck. But it was 2nd grade, the character, for some reason when I was a kid, and it's such a stupid thing, it bothered me that the Flash had a lightning bolt symbol and super speed, but not lightning powers. I don't know why that bothered me. Like, it's totally
that's kind of strange, isn't it?
Well, I guess. I mean, I don't know. And so I was like, I'm coming with the character as lightning powers and super speed. And it was, of course, as a genius kid, it was Lightning Lad. And then I was heartbroken years later when I was looking through some encyclopedia and found that there was already a character who had existed for decades called Lightning Lad. And I was like,
well, great minds think alike,
Yeah. And I realized I had to come up with so many lightning names. All my favorite ones were like taken. Living Lightning, taken. Lightning Lord, taken. And then I was like, Just Lightning was his name for a while, like Lightning. And I was like, well, that's too generic and taken. And then I remember I was proud to reveal the name of the character I was on Reenie's stream, Creative Block. And so I get on and I'm like, guys, his name is Lord Lightning. And then they all laughed on air.
Oh, no. No, not again.
So I was like, all right. So there is a reference in the book where he has a crossed out list of names, and you see some of those names on there.
See, I like that. I like how you did that and it just incorporated those kind of wah, wah, wah moments into the book. I like that.
Well, you got to take it in stride. It is better for that reason, right?
Yeah.
So then the name of the book, actually, when I pitched it at Phenom Comics, was Rob Hunter, was one of the editors of Phenom Comics. So he was on 100 Ninja Bear. He was the inker, and he was one of the editors on Phenom Comics. And I pitched what was then called The Vortex to him, and he goes, yeah, this just sounds like The Flash. It sounds like a bunch of things I've read before. And he was right, to be fair, because I did a bad job. And so I was like, all right, let me try again. And I would keep revising it and keep revising it. And what's funny is his current book, Death Raider, was also a pitch for Phenom Comics. So we both ended up taking our ideas elsewhere. What's up, Alex? And so then I decided to change it from The Vortex, because I found out that there's a million things called The Vortex, to Living Legends. And to the point where at Tampa, I still have them. These were the cards I was giving out. They said Living Legends.
Yeah, here, let me blow you up here.
So they were Living Legends. I had the logo. And then a lot of people had told me that it's too generic. And I was like, yeah, but it kind of works. And eventually I was like, well, I don't even want to, I'd rather have something that's more legally distinct. Something that's more, for legal reasons and whatever.
For the creativity as well. Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure.
So I went into like this insane manic state. So I had 2 names. I had to come up with a new superhero name. And I was like, I'm not leaving this basement until I come up with a name. And so I don't know if I still have pieces of paper. I would write on pieces of paper, what is everything that I'm trying to convey? You know, like, okay, what are superheroes? They're phenomenons was one of the words I came up with. Well, they're young, they're bright, they're shining, they're like stars. Well, like a nova is like a young, bright star with a lot of potential. And I was looking at these and I was like, wait a minute. And so I connected and I was like, Phenomenova, that's
I'm picturing that meme, you know, from...
It's what it looked like. I don't know if I have the video still, but I have a video of me just like going through I had 4 corners of the room. And then that night I'm like, Phenomenova, that's it. And as I'm about to go to bed, I'm like, actually, I don't like it. Kid Kaboom is another thing I'll get to. So then that was one
the
of them.
energy.
He can get more manic. Yes, I can. I try not to show that. You don't want to see that. You just want to see the results of that, which Phenomenova I was happy with. And then I didn't like it. And then I did like it. And I finally just like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm paying the logo guy. I can't change it. Sometimes you have to just pull the trigger because you'll second guess yourself forever.
Yeah, for sure.
And Galvanite was the name I came up with for my main character.
Is this true? Your pen name?
No, my real name's Vaughn.
Okay.
And Galvanite, I had come up with so many different names for lightning characters. And I still have a ton of them, but none of them felt right. And I was like, Galvanite was one of them I loved, but I was like, but he's not a knight. It doesn't make... And then I'm like, okay, does he have to literally be a knight? Is Batman a knight? I'm like, no. I'm like, do I like it? Yeah. Okay, go with it. And yes, it's a name that's way too cool for the character. That's the point, is that he thinks he's cooler than he is. You know, he's an idiot 15-year-old kid who thinks he's got same thing with Lord Lightning. That was the effect, right? He's this kid who thinks he's better than he is, which is why Rini, when she gave me script feedback, didn't say anything about Lord Lightning, because she told me, she's like, I thought it was a joke.
Wow.
He was like, I thought it was supposed to be that he's stupid. You thought that was cool? I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, it's not cool. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, no.
But it's funny. But,
oh, God, the trappings of being a creator.
Yeah, well, it's good, though. You need that. You need people to smack you around as a creator.
Yeah.
You know, you need people that are going to be honest. It's the same reason why I gave Jules my script, because I know she'll be honest. We read each other's scripts. You know, she even told me, she's like, yeah, Jules, what did you say? You said like Lord Lightning sounds like you're saying Milady or something like that. You're like, it's kind of cringe. I was like, okay.
Milady.
I forgot. Jules could tell me they brutalized Vaughn on stream live. Yep, that's what happened. They it was hyper as a Jake just burst out laughing when I said Lord Lightning. But it's good. You know, it was a lesson to learn, and I'm happier with the name.
Well, you know what? I think too, being able to take that, accept your lumps and everything at a young age, it's good. You
have to learn.
Get it out of the way, get used to it, understand, it's nothing personal. You need to get this information and to grow as an artist. So.
You have to. And if you can't, one of the things I have to say for young creators, because there are people that are like, oh, I'm scared of showing people my script. Good. That means you have to do it.
Yeah. And it will be ripped apart,
Like I sent Mike Barron my issue 2 script. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Because I was like really confident. And then you know how you have to know you're really confident in your idea? Okay, send it to someone who you really respect. Like I have some Mike Barron's Punisher stuff right here. Funny enough, I was reading when the Trump assassination happened. I was in the middle of reading the new Nexus book. My mom just
I was gonna.
It was really funny. I didn't expect it to be that funny.
Yeah, the very kind of like dry humor where it could be subtle. Like if you're not really paying attention, you could go right over it. I enjoyed it. The first reading, it wasn't really what I was expecting because I'd never read Nexus before. And it just, I had to go through and kind of read it again and absorb everything that was going on. Because I guess I was thinking it was going to be like your traditional
that's what I thought too.
Where, you're going to see like these grand fights and everything.
Because the way it's pitched is it's this ancient, and then it's just like that's why I liked it, because I was like, it was so not what I was expecting, something like kind of Dark Phoenix or
right.
Which is kind of why I liked it. Yeah, Nexus was that was good. I want to read that whole run.
I'd like to go back. I mean, it's don't they have the collections huge since it's from 81?
Mike told me, he's like, I'll send it. He's like, I'm like, all right, I just got to find. I have so many. That's one of the things I will say is being a creator today, especially in comics. I didn't like often what was on the shelf, right? I came into comics in a weird time. It was the New 52. was, and that was supposed to be the new reader friendly stuff, but they started doing this, even little things that bothered me, because they do, oh, you thought the underwear on the, he's like, yeah, we're getting rid of the underwear on the outside of the costumes. That's pretty stupid, right? And I was like, I thought that was like kind of cool, but okay. And they'd
It
be
was
like,
iconic, you know, like, come
dude,
on.
liking things. They'd be like, oh, we all know that was ridiculous. I'm like, I already get shit in school for liking superheroes. Now superheroes are telling me I'm weird for liking superheroes. And it was this weird Beast Boy was red for no reason. Why were they, you know, it was so weird. And then, so I would read a lot of older comics. I mean, everything was old to me, I guess, you know, but, and even then I dive back. If I don't like what they're currently doing, I could just dive back. Now, the tragic thing is I could read all this X-Men stuff and then I have to kind of just forget that this is where they end up, you know? Like,
yeah.
oh, you know,
I've been that with a number of movie sequels,
Yeah.
you know, so it's kind of,
yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
so
that
nice
was
that
Doctor
Star
Who.
Wars ended in episode 6 and they never made
Yeah.
another movie. What a perfect ending.
Yeah, the Doctor Who for me ended with the 12th Doctor, and that was it. God rest its soul, you know. Before we go ahead, I was going to play the trailer here.
Yeah, of course.
But I was going to, for those that have, you know, come in, kind of trickled in since we've been on, I just kind of wanted to, well, I just got tequila all over myself. But my thing that I'm going to do is I did a shot at the beginning of the show, which unfortunately it's not really kicking in. So the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one here and see if it has any more effect. And my plan here was for, let's say, if we get another couple backers, I will do another one. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Is it tequila o'clock already?
Yeah.
Well, you know, like they say, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
So
we do
there we
have
go.
an Indiegogo as well. If you guys,
I do. Yeah, I do have. And you had a Kickstarter? Did you?
Yeah, I put it. I just was told to put everywhere. That was my advice. Some people told me in person, they're like, Vaughn, I'm like, will you back? You prefer to back an Indiegogo? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, fine. And they did back. You know, I was like, and Kickstarter. First of all, my best advice is, I know. My best advice was
too big.
Oh man, was that a lot?
Oh Lord Jesus. Okay. All right. We'll persevere.
You okay?
Yeah.
I should get one too.
Yeah, Abra passes out live. Then we'll have a chair stream. You know, I wouldn't be the first host to have a chair stream.
It's common.
Okay.
Occurrence.
All right. Yeah, I do need a chaser. Have some water.
Yeah, I will say I didn't get drunk at Garden State Comic Fest. Everyone kept telling me I would, and I didn't.
Did I? I'm trying to think for the. I did start to at the cigar party afterwards. I did start to get a little, but it could be from the cigar too, because you know, even though you're not supposed to inhale, sometimes some of the smoke can get in there and you know, kind of play with the mind a little bit. But yeah, woo. Let's see. Does Abra's chair have the show-stealing charisma of Shelby's chair? I don't know. Maybe our two chairs should meet in the night. I don't know.
Shelby.
All right. So that's kind of like the thing I'm going to put out there. So right now we're at 228, $12,925. All my generous people that are watching in the chat, you know, please consider checking this out. It is on. I have the Fund My Comic page up here, but it is also available. Let me go ahead and switch tabs here. It is also available on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. I think it was still available.
Yeah, it's still on Kickstarter. Kickstarter backers, I noticed, are the flakiest ones because the problem with Kickstarter, I guess it's something they like, is because it's not committal, they don't take the money out of the account. And this is apparently a really common thing. I didn't know.
Yeah.
People will go in and they'll be like, And so I've crossed 1,000 back and forth like 3 or 4 times because
Oh,
people just decide, and it's like
they got to
whatever.
put gas in their car, Vaughn. I mean,
Yeah, how dare they have necessities instead of backing a comic book from someone they've never heard of? You
Oh
know?
my goodness.
No, I mean,
But
the
this,
fact
this
that it's
is
gotten-
great. I like seeing on, let me go back here to Fund My Comic. I do love seeing that you've raced a lot here because I think you do get more a percentage of the, the total here, right? The fee isn't as high on Fund My Comic, if I believe that was.
Yeah, that was part of it. And also total, they don't shadow ban. That was one of the biggest things is I was like, Indiegogo is taking a larger percentage and they're doing less. The right people. Well, and the stragglers, they can look, there are people, if you want to go on Indiegogo, but I'm finding most people, even now that Indiegogo is up, tend to prefer Fund My Comic, it just, because I think Indiegogo, it's a great platform, but it doesn't matter if I can't find what I want, like
I think
Nolan, I couldn't find.
It's really strange. It just seems to be really kind of arbitrary in a way, like what they choose to kind of shadow ban or not. I guess just whoever's handling that particular section of the site, maybe they just have a grudge against people. I don't know. It's a shame because I mean they're really at the end of the day only hurting. Well, not only hurting, but they're hurting their bottom line too.
Yeah, no, totally. And they want to make you do a 20% tip.
Yeah, check it out. We're gonna go over here. If please stick around because I'm gonna play the trailer here. In fact, while I let this tequila kind of pollute my veins here, let's let's
Should I
go
get
ahead.
a drink while the trailer's playing?
Do it.
Right,
Let's do it. Let's go ham this evening.
Yeah, I finished my bourbon, so I'll find something else.
Okay, all right. Well, let's go ahead and do the trailer. I don't know how long it is, but we'll find out.
It's like a minute.
Okay, hold on. Let me. All right, go back here and make sure that's turned up.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new. Something greater to be born, and with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! PHENOMENOVA. For you, Dad. For you.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I decided, to put my film degree to some use, and then Dark Gift ironed it out.
Yeah.
Dark Gift, it lives like 20 minutes from me, actually.
Oh, nice.
Hang out more, yeah.
Yeah, I had
a big boy voice. I can't, no, because that was one of the things is I was like, well, should I sound like a 15-year-old? Because my character's 15. I was like, I guess so.
Oh goodness. All right, so let's go through briefly kind of explain to the viewers what PHENOMENOVA is about. I know that the trailer, talked about World War III and everything, but
so yeah, PHENOMENOVA is set 20 years after World War III and follows the idealistic son of a war hero who is struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal, and he finds himself awakening with lightning powers and super speed. He decides he wants to use these powers to be like the brave heroes that fought during the war. And he sees there's this heist going on in a nuclear reactor. And he's like, I'm going to strike out with a makeshift costume and stop it. But he finds himself in way over his head when he attempts to intervene. And of course, there are villains that are more powerful than him. And now he's in this world that is more complicated than he realizes. And PHENOMENOVA is the name of the team that he's going to join. It's going to, I would almost say, imagine if like Spider-Man on his first outing failed and was taken in by an older hero to become part of a Teen Titans-like team. That's what it is. So it's like the Justice League / Justice Society of our world, I guess, would be the Crusader Corps who fought during World War III. And then one of the members of that team will take him in to train him to be part of the next generation of heroes but I decided, because I think there's too many books that focus too much on throwing everything at you right at the gate. Yeah. And I was like, let me give you one character to care about to prove that as a writer, and then I can earn the other ones,
I think that's really wise, just like you said, just prove what you can do initially. Don't try to run before you can crawl.
Yeah.
Put that out there. So in this world that you've created, how did they all get their superpowers?
It depends. So that was one thing I was deciding. I was like, what do I want the rules to be? And I decided I think one of the reasons why X-Men works is that it's kind of lax. I wanted to keep it lax in the sense that, okay, so I wanted him to have a special origin, that he's struck by lightning while holding this crystal. I thought that was unique. That was cool. But some characters, their powers kind of like mutants manifest. Some through different reasons. It really does depend on the individual. But there was a point in time where superhumans really started to pop up being born naturally with more obvious powers. And that was what led to World War III in this world. So there was this, and I talk about it in the first couple pages. It's not too much of a spoiler. So in World War III, there was this guy who could manifest fire powers, who was born in China. And eventually he would use these powers to overthrow the government. And so World War III was accelerated because of superhumans. Superhumans, villains and heroes, like it accelerated global conflicts. And so now we're living in a world where superhumans are still rare. They're still rare. But
so it's not like anybody could just, boom my powers. Because then if like everyone's special, a superhero, no one's special then at that point.
Which is why he kind of gets this cocky attitude, because he's like, oh, I have powers. They don't. I could win. Well, no, idiot. You still don't know how to train. You don't know your powers, And this is one of the things where it's like, there are teenage superheroes, because I was like, well, what's the practical reason? Well, the truth is there's not enough people with superpowers. Sorry. There's just, they're an invaluable asset. Even 20 years later, we still don't know what causes some people to get them. We still don't know the full extent.
Will you explore that later on in some of the future volumes?
I would love to. I have ideas, because here's the thing. Initially, I didn't care that much, but enough people asked me where I'm like, well, if enough people are asking, maybe there's something to this. And so I have ideas. I have, for example, the crystal was something. People were like, what's the crystal? I'm like,
I was going to ask you about that too. Yeah.
For a while, I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, if enough people are asking, and if the characters in the universe would care, and the readers would care, I have to care. Right. And so I did come up with something. It's not revealed in issue 1, but I have something, that I thought of. And I thought of something for how the crystals come about. And then when it comes to the characters as individuals, so if you look at the double page spread of the superheroes, you could see there's a witch character, like a sorceress. So there are those kinds of powers.
Let me go down here a little bit.
There are multiple. And even still, I'm coming up with new ways. One of those characters is a psychic. Then Golden Gallant. I would keep a lot of them shrouded in mystery, but I'll say there is something magical and special about his armor and his weapon.
I like how his armor's like, level 1000, and everybody else just looks like they kind of went to the Halloween store to.
That's perfect. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's. So I was like, oh, I'll have my universe's equivalent of Superman. And then I was like, screw that. There's already, it's never interesting. It's always boring. Yeah. Why don't I do something else? And I was like, well, what if I made him like a literal, like he's supposed to be, let's really amplify. I'm a big fan of boiling my ideas down to their core. And I was like, well, what do I want him to represent? Well, he's kind of like the gold standard. He's gold. He's got the knight in shining armor. He's angelic. those things. So I decided to go above and beyond with that. And what I came up with, and then my artist came up with a design that was so much cooler looking than I was like, because it was one of those early lessons where I had to learn, just let the artist take the lead. Because I was like, what are these things? And my artist was like, I don't know. I'm like, well, they look cool. I guess not everything needs a reason. That's the problem. I think writers have a tendency to try and over intellectualize stuff that just doesn't, like, it just looks cool, man. That's, you know?
Yeah,
And,
I mean, sometimes does it really need a reason? You know, it's like, it's just fun, you know, kind of like how was it in Wonka or the old Willy Wonka? I guess it was the new Wonka movie that came out in the early 2000s, and it's like, you know, it's candy, it's chocolate. It doesn't have to have a reason or a purpose behind it. It's fun, you know. Some things you don't really have to have a reason behind it. You know, it's cool, it's fun. Let's go with it. So I like the look of them, and I like that hammer thing. It almost kind of, you know, it screams kind of like justice to me.
Yes.
It's going to rain down judgment on people.
And as I was coming up with the backdrop, superheroes set in World War III, I was like, as I was writing out the backstory, I'm like, this is a story. So I do want to do a prequel story called Crusader Corps, set during World War III. Johnny Depp is actually, you know what? Funny enough, Mo Biggs, that you said that. I went to Gene Wilder's house when I was little. So
no way.
My grandparents were friends with Gene Wilder. So I don't remember it, but so I do know who the old.
Did you watch the there's a really, really good biography about Gene Wilder on, I don't know if it was Netflix, but one of the streaming services.
You should watch it.
Just
Gene
great.
Wilder? I wish I knew him better. My dad was a huge fan of Blazing Saddles, so I'm sure.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm gonna cry when Mel Brooks passes, because then that's when they're probably gonna, you know, start going after his works. But
they already are. They put labels on. They're like, Blazing Saddles is problematic. And I remember, actually, funny enough, when I was in my African American literature class,
where do white women at?
Yeah, I used that as an example of a great black writer, because that was Richard Pryor. And I don't care if that got me, I don't know if that got me in trouble, but I was like, I think this is a great example of an American black writer.
We were so close to being colorblind at one point, and then it just.
Yeah. So look at that. You want to talk about authentic diversity? I mean, I was coming up with characters from across the globe, and I was like, I want a character who's like American and Telepath. And I don't remember there being a discussion in my head. I was like, I just pictured him as black, and I was like, okay, that's the character. It wasn't really like a whole thing. There was the Japanese character, because I was like, why not?
Yeah.
I felt like for the German character, I was seeing, I forget what that's called. The beer chicks that they were Oktoberfest. I was like, combine that with the sorceress, because I was like, Germany needs some redemption in World War III. So I gave Japan and Germany and France the chance to kind of redeem themselves. There will be more heroes that fought during World War III, but I wanted to show just a few of them. And
is this going to be a case of, you know, how they always say, you know, after World War III, the following world wars will be fought with sticks, because World War III is supposed to be so devastating if we ever get to that point. Is there anything like that represented in PHENOMENOVA?
Well, if you scroll up, by the way, if we hit 15K across all of our campaigns, which we're about $200 from, everyone gets that mini print. That is in California getting nuked and destroyed.
Snap.
There were some, here's the thing, superhumans both accelerated and decelerated the conflict. So there was mass death, but it wasn't sticks and stones. And I think one of the things I wanted to do is show that there were heroes to show the power of superheroes early on, saying that they prevented this. World War III has been hyped up for so long. They were able to prevent it. They literally saved humanity in a sense, that there were super villains and that good was able to triumph. And so again, it gives this how does our main character now live up to that legacy of they literally did World War III. Okay, now he has, it's kind of like how, you know, we as men, we look at our grandfathers, great grandfathers who fought in World War II. And we're like, how do we live up to the greatest generation? And that was, I think, a problem that's plaguing men. And I think a lot of the answer people get is, well, everything's pointless anyway.
See, like that nihilistic point of view. They bled, they gave their all, and to see like how the world is kind of just pissing that away, it's so disheartening. But I think it's like that. What's the quote? Where the hard times.
Yeah, what is it? Hard times create
strong men.
Strong men.
And I've had too much to drink, but somebody.
We both know. We both know what we're talking
exactly.
about.
We've unfortunately had the soft good times for too long, and so that's why it becomes soft. And I think if we look at history, kind of like the overarching time of history and mankind and everything, everything's kind of cyclical. So I mean, unfortunately, there will come a time. I hope it's not going to be in our immediate future, our lifetimes, but we are going to have conflict again. And it's almost like a purging, like a forest fire, if you will, where we need it to kind of get out the weaklings and we've become too soft, and then that will cause us to to kind of
that happened in
get
my
our
world.
grit back.
So my world kind of had that happen. There was a lot of people died, but the world is a better place for it. But now it has been 20 years and conflict. I'm not saying it's not like it was world peace for 20 years, but conflict, humans doing what humans do. I wanted there to be a good 20-year time period where a whole generation has grown up since this. So my character wasn't alive for this.
That makes sense. Totally.
And because I wanted him to have this wide-eyed view of this is what life was. So his dad, logically, it would make sense. They fought during the war. So his dad was a war hero, and they were recovering. And then suddenly here we are in conflict. You see villains are now using special technology because they're superhuman. So now crime has had to adapt, which means everyone keeps having to adapt. And then now we have a character who steps in, and he's a very impulsive kid who now has super speed. That's a recipe for disaster.
Is this one of the super villains here?
Yes, that's Dark Cloud. So Zach, actually, he gave me that original art at Garden State. So this is a Fun My Comic exclusive. If you back it on Fun My Comic, you get this as a 6x9 free. I have the original art by Zach over there.
I like how he's holding this weapon, and there's almost kind of like a phallic kind of imagery going on there.
I have looked at that so many times. I'm gonna have to mention that to Zach.
Yeah.
What were you thinking there, man?
I almost think like you have to have it when you're putting forth something kind of like epic, and you just want to put this feeling behind your imagery. I mean, let's put something manly in there. And well, I mean, that phallic imagery, I guess, is kind of.
I'll ask Zach. I'll say, Zach, why is there phallic imagery in the art?
It could be the tequila talking too. I don't know.
I've looked at this so many times and I've never noticed that.
Oh my God. You squint your eyes. It's Zach with his penis out.
He's too tall to be Zach.
Oh goodness.
Zach is hysterical. Yeah, he turned that. He can draw his tech. What happened was he was on the phone with me because I was like, I wanted him to draw something. I didn't know what. I wanted to draw like the day one print. He goes, "What are your characters?" And I go, "This." He starts interrogating me. He's like, "All right, what's your villain?" I'm like, "This." He goes, "All right, what does he like to do?" I'm like, "What does he like to do? What do you mean? Where does he live? Why are you asking me these questions?" And he goes, "Okay, so but he's smart because he goes, okay, what does he like? What kind of weapons? Okay, so here's what I'm gonna draw." Like that's the kind of art Zach is. You give him a bullet point. He's a storyteller, which I think is the most important thing. There's a lot of artists, and I think it's cool, but there's a lot of artists that just draw pinups.
Yeah.
And that's not what a comic book artist is. Comic book artists, the more, especially because I'm not one, the more, I work with them, the more I realize just the sophistication. And again, it makes me love this medium more.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing that's kind of a little bit disappointing about the rise in AI art.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do understand that it's going to be, utilized as a tool. And there's nothing wrong with that. If for artists that want to use it as a tool for reference or whatever, but to just rely only on AI art and throw that out there.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's why it just completely goes against the entire, the art form.
And the thing, like, for example, Zach, I'm definitely going to use this whenever, because you're not going to see his layer in issue 1, but now it's like, this is stuff I want to pull. Like, a lot of these are weapons I had weapons that I pictured that aren't there. And there are other, there are other weapons I didn't picture. Even Reni's cover, she was like, I feel like drawing drones. And I was like,
yeah, let me go.
I have a whole arsenal of weapons that I'm described in detail, including weapons that Zach and Reni didn't draw, right? But they did draw weapons that I hadn't considered. And so I'm like, I mean, I guess he could have drones. I've had this character in my mind since 2nd grade. I never thought of those drones. And now as soon as she drew them, I was like, I got to use them in a later script. And then issue 3, I'm revising it. I'm like, oh, I know what I could use those drones for. You know, you wouldn't have that with AI. You wouldn't have that communication. Right. Or even the nuke in California. Actually, Rini suggested, she was like, yeah, it should be Silicon Valley. And I was like, oh,
how perfect.
Silicon Valley gets nuked in the opening of my comic.
It's like the Terminator, you know, Judgment Day or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, this, I have to say that this image right here is what really kind of, you know, encouraged me or got me to back this project, because it's just the colors and everything are so vibrant, and it's like so much going on in this one image. And, you know, that kind of demonic, you know, whatever monster, whatever that is in the flames. I was just like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you got this one lone hero just going towards the flames. It's, you know, to me, it was like a powerful image. I really liked it.
He went above and beyond what I expected. And he did include, and this is again, if it had followed a prompt, there were things I put, and Jules know what I'm talking about, 'cause she read the script. I included a ton of details that you don't see unless you know. It's really hard to describe it, because I know what the dragon is. I know how it works and all of that. There were things he changed in the artwork from my direction for the better. All of it was for the better. But I think I wanted to convey, if I were to show one image, what World War III was like and what heroism is. It's someone you have this guy who's huge in this panel, right?
Yeah.
And now you see him, he's dwarfed by these villain, but he's undeterred. He's going to go. And it's also an upgrade of that ancient mythic story of the knight in the shining armor and the dragon. But now we're seeing it in a superhero setting and a World War III setting. And another thing is it's also Eastern versus West. So in the East, dragons are helpful. They're their allies. So the Eastern villain, the Chinese villain, Lord Dragonfire, is using the ally of a dragon. Now we in the West were taught the knight in shining armor slays the dragon.
To slay the dragon. Yeah, exactly.
So I kind of wanted it to have a deeper meaning.
Okay.
And it also looks cool.
People like to troll you, you know, just because you're such a good sport about it. But Alex VRB says Vaughn's artist carries him like Biden's handlers have been carrying him for the past 3.5 years. Hey, well, at least you're not tripping all over the place and you know, talking about the hair on your legs standing up. And all.
My resignation is next week.
No. Yeah, have your people just write it on non-official letter.
Who'll be my Kamala? I'll meet Kamala.
Your Haktua.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That meme was like, I thought it was like, to be honest, like, God bless that girl, but I thought that meme was like rather mundane. And I was like, wow, this is really taking off.
Yeah, and you know what's sad though, like in these current ages and the internet, you know, a year or two from now, you know, she'll probably mature and kind of
realize it was dumb.
Dumb, exactly. But the internet's forever, so she'll be out there. It's like that lady that was screaming when Trump got, you know, elected, and you know, she's become like a meme for life. And it's hard because we kind of get swept up on our emotions sometimes, right? Yeah. Or in the moment or whatever. We don't know if the Hakta girl was drinking or whatever, had a couple
she was definitely drinking.
You know, had a couple shots of tequila. She said something stupid. You know, now if she ever gets married, like her you know, 10-year-old son might see that, you know, and
I think girls years. Especially, they're taught like, oh, post all this stuff online. It's like you don't think about, again, it's instant gratification.
Right.
You know, and that's why, you know, often, because I like to have there's a balance. I like to have fun online, right? But there's a balance of there needs to be some air of professionalism.
Yeah.
No way she's so exactly. But you know, it's people, they'll say something stupid, and this is why I hate, you know, cancel culture so much.
Right.
It's like, well, it's not even just about saying something stupid, because like there's people who just say things that are fine. But like in that sense, the cancel culture where it's like, okay, this person said something stupid when they were like 18. We're gonna destroy their life. Now
they act like people are, like have never
like
had
you
a change, change an opinion in their whole life. But
like I've seen people that I'm like, I know you in high school. Why are you saying all this? Like people that will be like, yeah, this person is disgusting. I'm like, man, I heard you say that in high school. What are you talking about?
Yeah, now they're like the church lady or something, thumping their Bible. Like give me a break.
Like,
You were under the bleachers, young lady. You know, like come on.
Oh, it's holier than that. Well, the thing is, it's very appealing to not be a virtuous person, but to appear like one.
Yeah,
right?
that's actually a good point. Yeah,
And that's one of the lessons I think my character I wanted to beat into his head. Issue 2 is like him being trained by one of the heroes that fought during the war before he's ready to join the team. And
I was going to ask you this. So we have issue 1 here. Like, how many issues do you already have, I guess, laid out or planned out?
So I was so I had written, it was 11, and then I condensed the first 3 into 1 and the last 2 into 1. So it became 8. And then I've improved a lot as a writer, especially since issue 1. And I was like, let me revisit some of my older issues. So I've now revised issue 2. I've revised issue 3 and just recently 4. I think it's going to be a 7-issue arc to start, but then I want to keep going. But I want to write out the first arc. And then my plan is to have fill-in. I'd love to get fill-in issues too, like, because I think, like, artists, for example, like you look at the X-Men, they'd have Barry Windsor Smith would be like, I have an idea for a solo Wolverine story. Okay, great, we'll put it in here. Like, I know plenty of artists that I would love to do that with, but I wanted to have a stretch of, I think, because my goal for the first story arc is to have my main character go through a complete arc. They beat the villain. We set up, there might be some more going on. We don't know. You get to know the team. That's it. And I actually, as I was revising the arc, I think I'm afraid because I'm about to get to revising my favorite issue because I have this golden view of what issue 5 is. And I'm afraid I'm going to look at him and go, just see the flaws. So, but
we're always our own worst critics.
Yeah, we are. So issue 5, 6, 7 is, I think, what I'm going to write for this arc. Yeah, that's my goal. And then I want to keep writing. I have ideas for tons of stories, like tons. I could write this for probably the rest of my life. That's my goal. It's that because I think superheroes, they represent like the never ending fight. And I have a never ending amount of new villains. I have a huge list of ideas of villains and other heroes. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I noticed like kind of the look of it has, like the story and everything has kind of like the Western feel, but the look of it has almost like maybe an Eastern manga kind of vibe to it. And also too, with your covers here, they kind of have that, the manga vibe. And then you have like the homage covers, like Final Fantasy 7 and everything.
Yeah. So Jules, it's big into manga. She had done a trading card, and she was an artist, the only artist I could think of that off the top of my head. I was like, she just had finished a trading card, and I was like, oh, I should do an Final Fantasy 7 homage. I was like, Jules, and she's the kind of artist again who's a storyteller, and she goes above and beyond. And she did that, but yeah, manga. I don't know. It wasn't even an intentional thing, really. Just
are you a fan of manga at all, or
a little bit? A little bit. I read way more Western stuff. Like I won't pretend that I'm some manga aficionado. Like you'll exhaust me of my manga knowledge very quickly.
How about anime? Do you like watching?
A little bit.
Anime?
Again, I could be exhausted easily, but it played its role. So like Battle Angel Alita, like I'm a fan of. I need to finish that. I like Junji Ito's horror stories. Actually, the way he paces out, because I think horror is some of the best pacing, whether it's film or whatever. It's the art of sound and visuals. And so I think when I was pacing stuff out, I find myself pulling a lot from horror, even when I'm not writing horror. So Junji Ito is another person I look to. But yeah, I mean, with this, honestly, I had a massive list of artists to go through, and this style just felt right. And that was it. My artist, I don't even know if he's manga inspired, but it had a look. If I capitalize on the anime fans, then so be it, I don't really write. There's some I pull from good stories, you know what I mean? Like but there's some like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood I pulled from, which is an anime. I pulled from some stuff, but most of my influences are Western.
Let's see here. So would you like to go through some of the different tiers that we have here? Yeah.
So we have you can add a signature to any order. Here's the thing. If you see me at a con, like the signature is only if you want your book to arrive signed. I'm not going to charge you if I see you in person or at a con. This is only because I have to go to where they're fulfilling and sign it that way. But if you're like, I could wait for the signature, I'll see, like, don't worry about adding it. But yeah, add the signature if you want. Then we got the main cover. which is done by my interior art team, and down to the even the letterer did the captions.
Dang.
So, and then my buddy Bobby, who you met, he did the logo box art with the one and the lightning, and he did the Rebel Oasis logo. So that is the main cover is done by my interior art team.
Okay.
And then my, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was getting ahead of myself, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, are we down to the variant cover? You have an option to get.
So the variants are all campaign limited, which means I'm going to print excess amounts of issue 1. But the variant covers will be very limited. I might print a few extras for cons because I'm going to be at cons with all these. Like almost my whole, like a lot of my creative team was at Garden State. But if they are at a con and they're at my table, they're going to be probably like double price. So, and very limited.
I mean, that's fair.
So if you want to get the variant covers, now's the chance. So there's Sukeisha Ray cover. She was just on my channel again. Good friend of mine. She thought my chat was, she loves my chat.
That's this one
She's
here.
messing with me the whole time. Yeah. So Sukeisha's good. She's she normally doesn't do this kind of art, but I wanted to try it. And again, I want to capitalize on the anime. I like to kind of pull from different audiences. You know, she has a big following. And so, and she killed it on that cover. Like she pitched me something totally different. And then she came up with that. And I was just like, whoa, like I love the colors. I love, what's funny is that the first 4 covers happen to come in just chronological order where they take place in the story. Just total coincidence.
Yeah, I think the one that I ended up going with was the Buzz cover here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The Buzz cover. That is my only variant, my only Virgin cover. Because I was like, I can't add a logo there.
That's what I'm saying. It would cover up the art. So yeah, I'm glad that you made that decision. And I love the idea of virgin covers. God, I can't even speak. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I wish more campaigns would offer the virgin covers. Be nice.
All right. I'll have to keep a note on that. Yeah, see, the chat is simping for Sukeisha, so she's very well liked. So then there's Jules. So Jules did the Final Fantasy VII cover, and she went above and beyond. I was like, just draw a futuristic reactor, and then she comes up with this crazy design, and I was like, whoa, like you know, and she did that multiple times. The trading card, I had my character's design wasn't colored yet, and I was like, she was like, what color should he be? And I'm like, what color do you think he should be? I had an answer, but then she came up with some blue and yellow, which is cooler than what I had in mind, and my artist and I both agreed. So we went with that. And then with that cover, she went with a reactor design that, again, was way cooler than what I had in mind. And so both of those designs make it into the final book.
Yeah. So you still kind of get like the feel of that Final Fantasy VII cover, but, you know, it's still original and fresh.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Irene's cover here with the villain.
Yeah, Dark Cloud. I had asked her, she gave me feedback. I was like, what do you want to draw? She was like, has anyone drawn the villain yet? I'm like, nope. She's like, I'm drawing the villain. Don't let anyone else. I'm like, okay.
Badass. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go down. Then you have where you can pick the 2 variant covers. So the 4 that we just went over, you have an option to get the 2.
Yeah. And my Fund My Comic is the only campaign that was made before the Buzz cover was out. So because of that, if you backed on Fund My Comic and you just want to add the Buzz cover, you could scroll down and just do it as an add-on. Or you could, or I made sure to add it so you can get it as a variant cover too. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we have where you can get the main cover and the 2 variants. So you give people like a lot of different options here. Then you get the 3 variant covers. And let's see, all the covers, of course. Like if you want to just bask in all the glory here, you definitely get on board with that. So 95 gets you plus shipping gets you all the variant covers there.
Yeah.
And this is you get the poster, and this is a poster of, is that cool scene that we get?
The main cover, but the poster will be a mini print. If enough people want a poster later on, when I have it on my website, I'll happily make that. But it will be a 6x9 mini print when we hit 15K, which we are like less than $200 from.
We can get you there. Yeah. I believe.
Sounds
the tequila
good.
Believes.
And I felt. By the way, I recommend everyone do this. Just make these crazy $500, $1,000 tiers, even if no one gets it. If one person gets it, that's
you never know.
So I was like, if anyone's crazy enough to spend that kind of money, which people were on an unknown book, Yeah, you deserve a lot.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, you had somebody that was like, yeah, I believe.
Two,
this
actually.
is
One.
the big Mama Jamma. Woo!
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then the retailer, I got to verify that person's actually a retailer.
They're trying to slip in the...
They could, because they give them a second. Yeah, and if you want
Yeah.
more than one of the mini print, I was like, why not? So...
Yeah, try to give the backers what they want, but, within reason and everything.
Yeah.
And this was kind of cool. I liked how you put the creative team on here.
Oh, yeah.
It's a number of people. Do you, with this many people that are part of the creative team? I mean, are you still looking to kind of make a little bit of something? Walking around money.
This is an investment. No, everything is. I'm already starting production on issue 2. My whole thing is because I've even had people who like me, who are my friend in person, who have been like, Vaughn, I don't back first time campaigns, and I get it.
I can
haven't
understand,
fulfilled.
yeah.
I'm an unknown creator. Also, I mean, how often do you watch something or read something without having heard a thing about it and how good it is? The fact that I've gotten this many backers is amazing to me. So I want to take that and move it forward because I want people and that was one of the things is objectively, I could say I'm a great writer all day. Every writer says that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there has to be a little bit of the ego included in there to just, keep you moving forward and get you through the criticisms and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, have to, some people just want to see you prove yourself first.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. I can totally understand that. I get it. Everyone at the end of the day has to decide what to do, with their hard-earned money. So definitely appreciate that.
Exactly. And the fact that this many people, again, there's people who have done way more. So honestly, the fact that people would spend this really means a lot. But my creative team, I wanted, so it was more so, it was I knew I needed an artist and a colorist, a letterer, editor. Because first of all, biggest problem in indie comics, guys, hire editors. And I just think although I am available for work.
Yeah, I've seen some things, and it's just like, ooh.
not just someone to spell check you. That's
not
someone,
friends, not yes men either.
Yes, get someone who you're scared of, who will scare you into telling a good story. But it's not someone who's gonna just question yourself to the point where you write bad.
Right.
But who will be like for example, my editor, I brought him back for issue 2, and I was like, be honest with me, because he gave me all the grammar notes and everything. I said, is this a worthy contender for issue 1? He goes, you have to defend. He goes, Vaughn, I think you won the belt in issue 1. You have to win it in issue 2. And I think it's good, but it's serviceable. You didn't defend the title. So I rewrote it and I go, did I defend the title? He's like, you defended the title. You need someone who tells you that. Who's honest enough to care. Because there are people, or send it to a friend that will be brutally honest.
Where they care about you enough to go ahead and, it's like they might hurt your feelings, but they're not
You'll
doing
hurt them
it
more in the long run if you tell them a bad product is good. You really will.
This is what really kind of touched me because both of my parents have since passed away. And so this was kind of something special that I, really appreciated. For those who are not aware, your father passed away on 9/11. And I remember that day. That day was just nuts. I was just a kid in college. And I remember my mom giving me a call right after I got out of class and said, we've been attacked. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, turn on the news. And I was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was unreal. And to actually talk to someone who was personally, impacted by that, I have no words.
Yeah. I mean, it was, so it was my dad and his little brother, my uncle.
Oh my God.
And so issue 2 will be dedicated to my uncle. I wanted to find a way to make it had to work. I always put the story first, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I always put the story first. And it was actually, that's how I ended up dedicating it to my dad, is I felt like my main character felt like he was missing that it factor. That all my favorite heroes had. I have a big thing. If I look to one of the things, if you want to write, I recommend is you look to your favorite and least favorite piece of media. Why do they work? Why don't they work? Analyze it. Why did it make me feel this way? And, I look Batman, his parents died. And so he wants to take that and use it as a way to make the world a better place. Spider-Man is wrought with guilt because he let his uncle get killed. And I think about Superman has from a dying world, but he has to carry on its legacy. And I was like, well, why does my character feel not necessarily hollow, but like he was missing something?
Right.
And I kind of thought about, well, let's, because I was kind of trying to distance myself. I was like, well, it's too similar to me anyway. And I was like, well, let's rip the heart out, bleed it, let it bleed onto the page. I was like, why do superheroes mean so much to me? I mean, all these genres, right? Horror, but what is so special about superheroes to me? And I kind of was like, well, even before I got into comics, I was drawn to them. And I thought about it. And I was like, when I was a kid, so I lost my dad when I was very young. And he was murdered by like terrible people. And then I watched these superheroes would have characters with similar backstories. Mm-hmm. And they'd use that as motivation to make the world a better place, to stop other people from suffering that.
Yeah, take that grief and kind of turn it around and turn something positive out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd give not only that, but they do it with a bright costume and give a kid a reason to smile.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is what superheroes are. Remove all the crazy. I have all these crazy lore plot lines and everything. And I'm like, we'll get to that later. For issue 1, boil it down to its base elements. Like, why does it mean so much to me personally? And that's when I think my story became better, is because suddenly I had a personal reason and meant, I transferred it to my character. I changed it up a little bit. And I was like, well, this is the only character that I'm going to tell my artist, you have to model him after this person. Yeah. I want him to look like my dad. And I did. I wanted to live on, forever. I want this book to live past me, and I want my dad to live past me as well. Because of the
I like that tribute, that way of honoring your dad. That really touched a chord with me, or struck a chord with me. Because I'd like to do something to honor my parents in some way like that. And this just worked out, I think, really well. You took something that you're really passionate about, and you were able to, kind of pay tribute and honor your father within that. And I think that was really good.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was something I wanted to do. It was something I thought was good. It made the story better. And I put it at the bottom of the page because I didn't want it to be I understand that, but in all honesty, I didn't want it to feel like I was trying
to get sympathy.
Yeah. That's why it's at the bottom of my page. It's important. Like, I think I'm going to make the first page of the book but I wanted you to already be buying the book,
right,
for whatever. I didn't want to use or make, even if it wasn't what I was doing, to make it look like I was using it for that reason. But I also was like, well, if my dad's going to be in it, my dad loved action movies, let's make him a badass. So I made him, World War III action hero. Because like, what, my dad would have loved that. He loved action movies.
There he is.
Favorite, I was like, why not? Let's do that. And so that was kind of an obvious choice. If we're going in a fictional world, let's really, do something cool with it. And so that's what I decided on. Yeah, no, the writers, you're supposed to, I think, because I think the line between everyone should pull from their personal stuff without making it seem like you're just, I think when people use like the self-insert thing, because like, for example, Sylvester Stallone, right? Rocky was his story, basically.
Yeah.
I think the difference is what a lot of writers do today is they'll go, and I'm perfect, and this is why I'm perfect. And it's like, that's not, if you read my comic at all, you'll find this main character, Miles, he's a moron. Like, it's
like they're too emotionally crippled to face their own weaknesses or even admit that they have weaknesses. And that doesn't resonate with the audience. Like,
doesn't.
We appreciate seeing people stumble and fall and have to overcome obstacles. I wish more writers and the people in Hollywood would understand that.
Right.
You want your story to resonate with the audience. At least absolutely. I would think you would. But
yeah, 100%. It's tough, but yeah, people want to be entertained. They want to be entertained, but they want to go on a journey, and I think people don't realize that.
Yeah. Was there other stuff down here? I like this image too. This looks very
that was the fan art contest winner that was just announced yesterday.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you to bring that up. So you've already posted that here?
Yeah, earlier today I was like, all right, that's some of my, let me get in. yeah, that's what I decided to do. Is I was like, I had the audience choose. They chose the same one my creative team chose, and I was like, all right, if we get 300 backers across all the campaigns, then they get to draw a mini or a trading card of Dark Cloud, who's my main villain. So I had them choose between 9 characters. They wanted them to draw all this for the fans. So if we get 300 backers, which we are at 267 across the 3 campaigns, if we get up to 300, then everyone will get a free Dark Cloud trading card.
I like that. Well, let's just see. Let's see where we're at. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Do I want to do the big one first? I'm gonna check with Kickstarter, then I'm gonna check Indiegogo, and then we'll check Fund My Comic. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Just random. We'll see. Okay, so let's refresh.
Yeah, I know the Kickstarter audience isn't really. I know this isn't really a Kickstarter audience. Although I was shocked by some of the people that chose. Like there were people with active Indiegogo campaigns that backed me on Kickstarter instead of Indiegogo, which I thought was weird. I'll take the money. I don't really care. But I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Okay, so nothing with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, but drum roll. Farewell. I'll do let's do no, not that one.
It's okay.
Well, whatever. Let's see where we are. We'll refresh. Come on.
It's okay.
Oh.
No worries.
You pushed me to drink, people. You're pushing me to.
Yeah. It's okay. Like that's one of the things is sometimes things take time. It's okay.
That's true. That's true. And I would encourage everyone to, just check it out. Consider backing it. I know a lot of people in this day and age, especially with the economy being the way it is.
Oh, yeah.
Pockets, the pocketbooks are tight. Money doesn't go as far as it used to. And there have been some disappointments out there where, maybe people have struggled and haven't been able to fulfill their, their campaigns. I definitely don't see that with you, Vaughn. You seem like really on point, and you have a lot of people on board to help you get over the finish line and everything. So I am going to drink to that because I have faith that people are going to see this and be inspired to to back. I definitely got mine. And I hope others would consider doing the same. But here we go. Salute. Cheers.
Alex, that was the goal, by the way, pal. So all the variant cover artists are people who go on my channel a lot. So yes, you all have personal attachments. I knew what I was doing. I was just doing it. Well, I think I had them all on my show before. Buzz. So Buzz he was at Garden State. If you didn't talk to him this year, talk to him next year. He's one of the funniest people in comics. He's a good friend of mine too.
We'll see. I think if Trump comes into, it comes into office, just like before, he's going to have an uphill battle because he is assaulted from all fronts, even his own party. They just don't like him because he's not a politician.
Yeah,
he's someone that wants to go in and make waves and kind of kick that hornet's nest and see what happens. Love him or hate him. I don't think you can really deny that he has the vision and he wants to go in and he thinks he's making the country a better place. And some people just don't like him for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No joke. It's
that would be a fun comic idea, like a president who has to survive waves of assassins.
Have you seen that one thing that somebody's proposed where they said, I'd like to see a movie where the CIA is trying to assassinate. Yeah, but not because they know Clark Kent's Superman, but because
he's a journalist. Yeah.
I think that made me smile.
Yeah, I laughed at that too. No, I know exactly where it's like the CIA has to kill this journalist and that would be a good comic.
Got too close to the story, but all of their attempts just end in failure because, my God, he's Superman. They just don't know it.
That's such a good idea I forgot about because I looked at that as a meme, but I keep thinking about it now as a writer. I'm like, that's actually such a
I would like to see, if anyone's going to do it, you seem like the individual that could do that.
I would love to. I can't imagine I'd be allowed to. they'd be like, "What? The CIA, Vaughn? This is dangerous conspiracies. The CIA has never had anyone killed, ever.
Right.
There's no evidence of that. None."
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here.
All right.
But I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining. Thank you, for spending the time with me. And it's obvious that you have a passion for, for all things comics and film. And I could talk with you about this stuff for hours. And but yeah, thank you for reaching out to me. And I'm glad that you were able to appear on the show. And do you have any parting things that you would like to say before? Before we head out?
I guess just check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Vaughn Coleman. Follow me on all socials. Check out PHENOMENOVA, obviously, and keep an eye out for all the stuff I'm working on. Because if you're not already, you could join the mailing list. Just however you decide to keep up, make sure you do that. And
yeah, for sure. And again, I really admire, just your ambition and your passion and everything for all thing arts just kind of shines through. And sometime when I'm not 3 tequilas in, we'll have to chat about movies and scripts.
I'd love
and
to.
Kind of like what's what is the root of the problem with all these movies lately, especially the endings. The endings, they're not landing it.
you can't do it. The endings are tough. They are tough. But it's also, if it's your profession, you should be good at it. So.
Right. And I one or two where they kind of like, we'll leave the ending up to the audience. Okay. I mean, here and there.
If they all are.
Fine. If they all are, it's like, you're just.
I do think there's a reason for that. But I think
okay. Now I'm going to have you on for part 2.
Yeah.
Da-da-da.
I just thought of it. Yeah. Because I played a game that was similar. I think I'll continue, but I think they want repeat viewers and online video discussions to break down the ending rather than just tell them it.
Yeah.
They could
I don't know. Give us an ending and then we can go from there. We have our own imagination.
I'm in agreement with you, but I do think that's what the studios want.
But for everyone who joined, Menthol Meow and let's see, Ellie the Skibby Rizzler and Jeremy Burtz and Pastmaster Dan and Alex VRB and everyone who was kind enough to show up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You guys help make the show. We're here. I have my guest here, but you guys help make the show and everything, and I really appreciate it. Hang on here for just a bit. Don't go off into the ether here. But with that, I think I will bid you all adieu until next time. See you guys later on the next stream. Bye.
Bye.
50 sets off for me. I've had enough. Get the hell out of my house. In Jesus' name, I pray.